Hello everyone, and today what we're going to do is to create a fire animation using frame-by-frame animation in Moho. So open up Moho, and once you have this default screen, go ahead and go to File and create a new project. You'll have a new blank project, and I'll just save this project as fire anim. So I'll just call this fire underscore animation. That's it, good. So now that we have that fire animation project all saved, what we want to do is to go to the layers tab. In case you don't see the layers tab for some reason, go to window and you should actually see your layers tab. So in case it's not there, it means it's undocked. Go ahead and go to window and click on your layers. You have your layers here, or you can use Ctrl+Shift+K to bring your layers back. So what we can also do is to, in case yours is showing advanced and you're seeing all this, just go ahead and deselect advanced on the style. And if we want, we can even get rid of the style because we're not using any style, just so we can have a nice section to work with our layers. But that's just by the way. So to start creating our frame by frame animation, what we're going to do is to go over here to the new layer options, and we have a set of options. What we want to click is frame by frame to create that frame by frame layer, and I'll call this the fire. Now what I want to do is to have a nice line or a base where I'm going to be creating the base for the fire. So I'll go back to my layer 1, I'll double click on that, and I'll just call that BG, which is short for background, and I'll switch over to the freehand tool. So with the freehand tool selected, I'll just go ahead and drag a nice little horizontal line here. What we can do is to increase the size of our freehand brush. So let's go to window and we can bring back our style, and you can actually see here the width is on 6 pixels. I can set this to 10 pixels and you can see the size is increasing. Also, I want to get rid of the autofill and the auto stroke because I don't want it adding any fill or stroke. So I'll get over to the autofill and deselect that. So I think this should be fine with our autofill, and I'll leave the weld ends option on. And if you want to have a little texture, what you want to do is to select any nice brush. I like this one, so I'll just select that one, and then the spacing, let's just drag this up to like 13. But just note, the more less spacing you have, the more the brush quality. So good. So we are now back on our background layer, and I'll just try to create a nice baseline like so, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And then at this point, I'll just use an X to mark this spot. So now I can jump over to the fire layer, and you can actually see when I jump to the frame by frame layer, we have this option that just popped up here on this frame by frame layer. So what we are going to do is to animate on each frame. So we are on frame 0. If I move over to frame 1, I'll just go over and set this to 1. Or I can use the right arrow key and begin to move each frame. And each time I move, you can actually notice here where it says frame, you actually see that's 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. So on 0, I'll just go ahead and create a default drawing while I'm, keeping note of that basic point. So fire, imagine a ball traveling through fire. Right, so you could just imagine a nice little ball moving up and down. And what do I mean by a ball moving up and down? So let's say we have a nice little shape, and now to keyframe this, we could type F5, and that's our keyframe on 0. So if I drag this, we can actually see that's on frame 0. And also to automatically keyframe, to see our onion skin rather, we can turn on this ribbon right here. And if we drag this, you can actually see our drawing in blue. That means this is our onion skin. You can change the color of your before and after onion skins by clicking this drop down button, and you can set the before to, let's set it to green. And then we can set the after onion skin to something more reddish, like so. So this is going to be our before and after for onion skin. So we are actually on frame 2 right now. So we'll create a variation of this frame, and let's just do that and discuss about how, fire looks like. So the reason why straight ahead animation is going to work for this is because we're working with something that has a variation. So I'm going to frame 2 now, and I'm going to hit F5 to add that as a keyframe. So if I go to frame 1, frame 2, I haven't actually accepted this yet, so I'll just press F5, and now we can begin to slide through our drawings and actually see what we have. So frame 0, frame 1, we have this, and on frame 2. So let's go ahead and start creating our artwork for frame 2. So for this, I'm just going to again go slightly bumpy, but still change this and going for a much more fiery like kind of shape. So again, there's a shortcut button right here to accept the frames. So this is for duplicate frame, this is to create a new frame, frame, not flame. I think there's a button here to add the keyframe. So once I remember that, sorry about that guys, I'll quickly, but instead of always pressing F5, you can always do that, but F5 is not really far away from us. So now let's go ahead and add and increase our fire right here. So I'll just do something like this, go over here like that, and just having a slight variation of that. And I'll make sure I save that and add that as a keyframe, like so. So we can just press our keyboard to slide through, to scrub through rather, and we can drag this forward. Now you can actually see there's a nice little orange bar here. If I deselect this, I won't see any of the onion skins. But if I press this over here and press another one, it means I'm seeing the before and after keyframe. So the black is going to be the keyframe we are on, and then the one on the left is going to be the before and after, and you can do more than one. Right, you can see more than one, but I'll just turn this off and just leave it at before and after. So I'm on frame 2 right now, so I can see 1 and 3. So if I'm back on frame 1, I can see frame 0 and 1. So that's just that what that means right there. So right now, just go ahead and draw on this frame because it's empty. So I'll just draw something over here and change it. So what I'll do is to slightly begin to kind of like go away from that shape and then create a very thin edge around here like so. And what we're going to do, let's get rid of this and let's save that. Let's keyframe that. Like so. And let's keep doing our drawing. So I'm going to add another one like so. And I'm just freestyling this, nothing too super serious. And I'm just going back down here. I'm trying to make that section thin so you can actually follow up with this edge. So next I'll go over here and add this keyframe here. And what I'll do is to begin to drop this down. So I'll just do something like that. And then drop this down. Like so. I'll add another one. And we'll just begin to drop this and make it quite small. Just like the way if you study fire and see fire dancing, you can actually just see how it works. So I'll just go ahead and add this one. And if you just add this and draw, it'll automatically map that keyframe. So you don't need to press F5 when you move around. So just by adding this and drawing, it'll automatically assign that keyframe for you. So here, let's begin to create a nice little spike on our fire. So our fire is rising up and then it's creating a nice little spike there. And then that fire has grown. Let's just make sure it grows up. And we'll try to still leave that little spike that it has created. And over here, Now some of that spike has begun to die out and billow, so I'll just make this a bit slim. Draw out some of this edge just to make it quite unique. And I'll add a little bit of pop right here. So I'm on frame 11, I'll add that and then add the drawing. So on frame 11, I want to add that fire has broken out into another flamey section. So I'll just do this. So it's going to break out into two sections, and then we have another little section right here. And then we'll add some of these breakouts, just a little bit to add, to make it more interesting. So I'll move to frame 12 and add another keyframe here. And I'll just draw like so, one more, like that. And then we can add some of this at the top. I think we can actually play this. So I don't want this to play infinitely to 250 before it loops back. So I just have up to frame 12 here. So I'll just set this to say 13 and hit the return key so I can limit the excuse me, so I can limit that frame, and I'll hit this plus here to zoom. I believe that's the maximum zoom I can get, and I can just play this and we can actually see how this is playing. So it's actually quite fast, but you can actually see it's a good example for that actually shows you how fire works. So let's go ahead and see how we can retime our animation. Just go ahead and get rid of these onion skins, and this is at 12. So let's set our length to 12, for example. And if we play our animation, it's actually looping between 0 to 12, and it's extremely fast. So let's see how we can retime our animation. To do that, let's select over here on our keyframes, and then we'll hold Alt, and then we'll just drag this to say 24. And what we can do is to go over here and set this to 24 frames, and let's play this and see. So this is basically animating on 2s. So we initially animated on 1s, now we're animating on 2s, and I actually like how this actually appears. And another thing we could do is when we are creating the animation, you can actually see here 2. Now, if we set this to 2 automatically, so let's go over here to 30. If I set this to 2, and I create a keyframe here, and say, let's go back to our freehand tool, and I draw, something like so, and I create another keyframe. It's actually moved one keyframe. So this is actually animating on 2s, and I could just create another animation like so, just to have this one roughly different. And if I add another keyframe, we actually see we're actually animating on 2s. So to delete keyframes, super simple. We just select and hold Shift to select all these, or we could just select the whole thing here, and we could just get rid of them. Alright, so that's how you can create a basic frame by frame animation using Moho. Thank you very much for watching.